Hey guys, so I wanted to make a video here talking about Savage rating and improvements that I think can be done to it to help the player base. A little bit of background for myself. This is the first expansion I've done that I've done Savage rating in. I did do extremes and stuff the previous expansion, but this is the expansion that I wanted to jump into and that I've done experienced all three tiers now of raiding Savage in this expansion. So I am a casual player myself. I do not barse. I don't use any external tools like No Clippy. I don't use anything as far as other quote unquote tools to help me raid. I just go in there, I look at my rotation, and I heal mainly in this expansion as a sage. With that being said, like I said, this thing that I've come up with is far as like from a casual point of view. This is nothing to do with people that are hardcore or people that label themselves as hardcore. So these are my takes because I believe the casual player base is the one that makes up most of the current Savage core. Um, so I'll be going across some different points and things that I will think will help Savage rating in a great deal. So the first thing that I want to talk about that I think that a lot of people would agree with, um, the loot lockout system. And also, I just want to say that most of these changes, I would like them done a month after the tier comes out. In order to keep it competitive for people that want to be competitive, people that consider themselves hardcore. Like I said, a month, I believe, from a hardcore player standpoint, is enough time for people that label themselves as hardcore to clear the tier. I think if it takes longer than a month for you as a quote unquote hardcore player to clear the tier, then you are not hardcore. And so this keeps the integrity of hardcore players and lets them have their flowers in a sense. With that being said, loot lockouts. I don't understand the reason of this. I think that if you are a hardcore player and you've cleared the tier, this shouldn't bother you. But as a casual player, one of the biggest issues you run into is, first of all, this is partly a social game. There's friends that clear the tier faster than other people, and there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to play with your friends. One of the main hindrances of playing with your friends in Savage Tier is the fact that if your friend clears the tier or clears the boss fight that week, they cannot help you without you or the whole group that you're with running into this thing where they don't get loot. The loot is affected. Um, I think this should be changed to personal loot, how it is currently in the normal raid tier before you go into Savage, where the boss drops the same amount of loot. But if you already looted that boss that week, you don't get loot. And if no one is eligible for loot, the loot just stays there. Um, I think this would help a lot of people getting into Savage raiding, learning from people that have already cleared the fights, and make it all a better social experience for people. So that way people can play with their friends and progress through the game and get through the content a lot quicker, especially if they are casual players. Because, like I said at the start, the hardcore players, I understand this for them, but as far as like the casual players, this is something that doesn't really make sense. Um, Piggybacking off of that, and like I said before, I just want to repeat this is like about a month timeline. Like these effects would take into effect a month after the tier has been out or a month after the tier has been cleared already by someone in that server or in a general sense altogether. Um, if everybody in that group has not cleared the fight before and they clear the fight, they should get an additional piece of loot to drop. Sort of like a congratulations, you guys are all new players, you came together, nobody has cleared this boss before, you guys all cleared it, here's an extra piece of loot. Like kind of like a first time bonus. Um, I think that would help people getting into the game that would introduce people into going more into Savage and all together raise their morale and encourage people to make new groups and play with more people for the first time. So, with that being said, then something else I want to bring up on tighter DPS rotations. There's a lot of mechanics that require group effort, and because of that, if one person messes up, it wipes the raid. I understand that it is Savage, and I understand that if that goes over to Ultimate, definitely. But on a Savage level, people should have more personal responsibility. And if someone isn't doing a mechanic, the whole group shouldn't suffer. That person should suffer, and it should be based off of their mistake. This is something that a lot of people get away with, where it's like if someone messes up a mechanic, it wipes the whole group. That doesn't really make sense from a standpoint at a Savage level. And personal responsibility is more important that way, as well as having tighter DPS rotations, so that way people can't greed as much. Now, here's another point I want to bring up. Job mastery for each boss should be required. Something I see a lot, especially towards the end of the raid tier, where people struggle in Party Finder. You're with somebody who cleared the fight on a different job, whether it's tank, healer, DPS. Then they go back into the fight having cleared it, but they do it with a job or a class, I guess, that has never done that content before. You know, you were a tank, now you're coming in as a DPS. We should do away with that. If you want to progress to the next raid tier, to the next boss, you should be able to do so with the job that you cleared it with. And if you're going to go in as a different job, then you should have to re-clear it under that new job. I think that would get a lot, take away a lot of the griefing that we run into as far as group and drama and things like that. Now, this other one probably isn't that big, but as far as progression wise, food should probably last an hour, and we should do away with the timer of the lockout in the raid. I know when people are progressing, Party Finder, it's unnecessary, and to re-instance kind of makes people lose the momentum, especially if they're making progress. And it's a lot easier to have this thing where it's like, okay, we're going to raid for 2 hours. We're going to raid for 2 hours and not have to worry about having a re-instance in. It's more like a small scale thing, but I kind of see it as like a quality of life. And last but not least, I really wish that in future expansions, we get away from the 2-minute meta. A lot of classes are forced to play a different way, do different things based off the 2-minute meta. I think it's super toxic, and I think it's unnecessary. It's something that's not needed in the game. And if you want to have more personal DPS, personal accountability, let's get away from the 2-minute meta, and let's have it so that way everybody kind of manages their own cooldowns and uses things when they're supposed to, instead of like, oh, let's all wait to do our big bang at 2 minutes because we have to. And last but not least, LBs should do the same damage across all jobs. I don't understand why some classes do more, some classes do less. That's something that just doesn't really make sense, and I hope it's something they do away with. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Just some things that I think should be changed, and hopefully we see those changes soon. Thanks.